Welcome to our new unit on statistics and probability, module 5, but we're starting with probability. If you have not watched the Math Antics video that was posted prior to this one, you need to stop where we are and go ahead and watch that video. It's going to be very, very important that you have watched it to have a better understanding of what we're doing here. So starting off with the first part, chance of experiments. Obviously, you've heard weathermen talk about a 40% chance of rain or a 50-50 chance of getting heads on a coin toss. Those are all probability statements. In this lesson, we're going to talk about and investigate what probability is and how likely it is for events to occur. Now, based off of the video that you saw, we're not actually running this experiment, but if you take a look here, the probability of blue occurring is 25%. That is also equal to 1/4 and equal to 0.25 or 25 hundredths. Now remember, in the video you heard that probability is out of one whole. And you know that one whole as a percentage is 100%. So then we have the red, also the same. Okay, and there we go. And then finally the green. Now obviously this is 1/2. If we wanted them to have equal parts, then we could easily split that 1/2 and it would become 2/4. Which is also 1/2, 5/10, and 50%. Okay, so the probability here of blue, well, we'll start with green, of the green occurring, and we write that with the word green, or you can also put it with a capital G, meaning probability of green, would be equal to 1/2. If we have the probability of blue, we would have 1/4, and the probability of red would be also 1/4. All right. Now, if we move on to the next part, just by chance, obviously, looking back at that picture here, which one do you think that if you were spinning that you would land on most frequently? Or what color would you be most likely to land on? Well, since there are 2 of the green, we would be more likely, or sometimes we just call that likely, it's likely that we would land on green. Okay, if you had to pick a color, and let's say you had to pick a color that was going to be your winning color, which color would you pick? Well, hopefully you would pick that it would also be the green, because green, the probability of green, was the greatest at 50%. 1/2 chance. Now looking down below, we want to categorize these based off of which one is likely to show win for green, unlikely to show, and equally likely. If you notice here, we have 1 and 1. So 1/2 is green and 1/2 is red. Therefore, we call that equally likely. Equally likely for green to win. We also want to look for likely and unlikely. Likely means I have a greater chance than 1/2. So if we take a look here, notice that most of this is actually green. So this would be likely to win. And on this one, green doesn't have a very good chance of being the winning spin. So that would be unlikely. And it makes it easy because notice the commonalities here of likely, likely, and likely. So equally, likely, and unlikely. All right, as we move into this part right here, these notes are critical. Please. This is a biggie for understanding the different parts. Remembering that probability is out of one whole. One whole is out of your probability. And of course you can remember that's 100% of the time. So it is impossible if it has a probability of 0. It is certain if it has a probability of 1. That's because there's a 100% chance that's happening. It is equally likely if it is 50-50, 1/2. It is more likely if it is greater than 0.5 or 5/10. Remember, 5/10 is equal to 50%, which is equal to 1/2. Okay? It has to be greater than that. So it's a number that is greater. And then less likely means that it is less than. So it is less than. Okay, this is going to be a really good piece of paper for you to focus on and think about. So let's move on to the next part. Again, looking at our scale here. Impossible, remember, unlikely means that it is less than. Okay? And likely means that it is going to be greater than 1/2. Okay, that likely has to be bigger than 1/2. All right, 1/4 would fall right in the middle here, and 3/4 here. So we've got some different events here occurring, and we want to figure out where do they fall: impossible, unlikely, equally likely, likely, or certain. So if you see let's go down to C. There's a round disc. One side is red. The other side is yellow. Where would it be on the probability scale, called the probability line on Math Antics, for it to end up on yellow? Since it's 1 out of 2, it is equally. And we're going to label this up here with the C. Let's take a look at D. No, let's skip D. Let's go to E. Your full name will be drawn when a full name is selected randomly from a bag containing all the full names of students in your class. So even if your class has 10 kids in it, or 20 or 30, we'll just go with 20 for now. So there is a probability that your name would be picked because there is one chance of that. But this is a very small probability. It is unlikely. It would actually fall down here somewhere if it was at 1/20th. So we're going to put E down towards the end, but not at 0 because there is a probability. Let's take a look at G. What is the probability that tomorrow the temperature outside will be negative 250 degrees? That is not going to happen. So that is an impossibility or impossible, and we're going to label it G. So I want you to pause the video And I'd like you to complete A, B, D, and F. Make sure you label them on your probability scale, as well as write out the probability beside each one. Come back as soon as you are done. So, A, impossible, B, certain, D was unlikely, and F, oops, I forgot to put, is equally likely. So draw a spinner so that the probability of spinning green is 1. So I have given some examples here. And it doesn't matter as long as every segment that is in the spinner is green. So the probability of green is 1. So it's one hole, 100%. I'm also going to let you pause the video, and I want you to complete the next two on the next page, problem number 7 and 8 by yourself, and then come back and we will check those. Okay, looking for a probability of 0 for spinning a green would mean that there's absolutely no green anywhere on the spinner. So there's just some random examples. On the next one, you can compare equally likely. So as long as there are equal number of parts that are green as there are red, equal parts, equal size, then you are going to have equal likelihood of it occurring. All right. Now let's take a look at the bottom. An event that is impossible has a probability of 0. It can't happen. No matter how many times you try it, it cannot happen. So no matter how many observations, and sometimes that's called trials, it'll occur 0% of the time. An event that has a probability of 1 is always going to happen every single time, no matter how many times you try it, such as the heavy rock falling to the bottom. No matter how many times you try it, it's going to fall to the bottom of water. What do you think it means for an event to have a probability of 1/2 or 1 out of 2? Okay. In that situation, it means that there are equal chances that it's going to occur. And what do you think it means for an event to have a probability of 1/4? You may pause the video and come back to that and check your answer. Okay, great. Thanks for coming back. What do you think it means for an event to have a probability of 1 out of 4, whether it's in observations or it's by spinning? Okay. The probability of 1 is 1 out of 4. That means it is unlikely to occur. So that means it probably won't happen. All right, that's it for today's lesson. At this time, you're going to complete your problem set, and then you will enter that problem set on Canvas. Thank you.